I was peeling open one of those sad vending machine chicken wraps in the break room when I spotted them. Two people in dark suits standing at my desk with clipboards. Not IT, not HR. One of them was photographing my screen, the other had on latex gloves, going through my drawers like I stored anthrax in there. I didn't panic, I just stood there, chewing, watching. I knew exactly whose fingerprints were all over this. Jenna Carlisle, my wife's best friend's sister. The same Jenna who somehow went from fresh hire to my boss's go-to culture leader in under a year. She was never subtle, and now she was out for blood. I tossed the half-eaten wrap in the trash and walked straight over. "Y'all find something interesting?" The taller one turned, didn't even blink. "Routine compliance check, based on internal reports of workplace issues." Right, and I was born yesterday. Jenna was nearby, pretending to go through a file cabinet like she suddenly cared about archived payroll from 2 years ago. But I saw the smirk she tried to hide. She wanted me to see this. She wanted to be the one standing in my ashes. "Before we start, how's your day going and where are you joining from?" I crossed my arms. "What kind of issues?" The woman with the gloves didn't look up. "Performance concerns, client documentation irregularities. We're just reviewing workspaces." I almost laughed. Client documentation irregularities? That was Jenna's buzzword. She'd been sniffing around my files for weeks, like a dog with a grudge. "You got a list of names this came from?" I asked. Neither answered. Of course not. They kept working, quiet, methodical. One of them slid open my bottom drawer and paused. Jenna leaned in a little, not close enough to be caught, but just enough to watch what they were seeing. She was trying to pretend this was just business. But her body gave her away, that slight tilt forward, like a kid waiting for the piñata to crack. They pulled out a brown leather notebook. That's when I knew she'd screwed herself. She thought she'd found her smoking gun. I smiled. "Go ahead," I said. "Read it." The guy glanced at the woman. They sat down right there at my desk and started flipping through the pages. Jenna inched closer again. "You want to sit too?" I asked her. She froze. I turned back to the compliance officer. "It's not what you think." He nodded, still flipping pages. "We'll see." I walked over to the break room, poured a cup of burnt coffee, and sat by the window. If they were reading my notebook, this was about to get real interesting. They flipped pages in silence, and I just watched from the break room like it was a matinee showing. No popcorn, but I had caffeine and a front row seat. Jenna didn't stick around. She drifted off once she realized they weren't panicking. It hadn't started here, of course. Jen had been working the long game from the minute she joined the firm, 8 months after me. Walked in like she owned the place. Fresh MBA, sharp heels, faster mouth. She didn't say it out loud, but her whole attitude screamed it. I didn't deserve my seat. In her eyes, I was just another guy who got lucky. Never mind the years I'd put in. Never mind the client relationships I built from scratch. If a client mentioned my name in a review, she'd brush it off as convenient timing. If I got picked to lead a presentation, she'd call it favoritism. She played nice for the first couple weeks, real surface-level smiles and fake interest in how things ran. But that didn't last. She started showing up in my Zoom calls just to observe. Then she'd chime in mid-pitch to a client and point out some oversight I hadn't made. "Greg, I think the fee structure might be outdated on slide 6, she said once in front of a $1 million client. Slide 6 was fine, and she knew it. Then came the spreadsheet tampering. I'd go into a file and find formulas rewritten or cells color-coded with little red comments. Consider double-checking. Translation, I'm watching you. I didn't snap. I didn't even push back. I kept doing my job, kept hitting targets. I landed a 7-figure portfolio from a referral Jenna hadn't even sniffed at. I didn't brag. I just added the numbers to the board and went home. That drove her crazy. She needed me to crack. Instead, I stayed still. Then the micromanaging started. She didn't have the title or the authority, but she started tracking things like she did. What time I logged in, when I went to lunch, how long I was on a call. She'd pass my desk slow, eyes on my screen. Real casual, like she was stretching her legs every 45 minutes on the dot. At first I thought she was just annoying. Some people need control, but this wasn't about efficiency or quality. She wasn't trying to improve anything. She was building something, a case. I realized it when I found her notebook open during a meeting. The top of the page said, Greg Turner, timeline. Bullet points underneath, dates, incidents, mostly garbage. That's when it clicked. She wasn't aiming to prove she was better. She was aiming to prove I didn't belong. And the worst part? She was smart about it. Never loud, never direct, just constant, quiet erosion. Before long, I had coworkers asking weird questions. Hey Greg, you okay? Jenna said you've been kinda off lately, off. I was outperforming half the team, but her little whispers were doing the job. Doubt spreads fast when you feed it every day. I went to Wilkins once, our boss. Told him straight up that Jenna was poking into things that weren't her business. He nodded, said he'd look into it. But I knew the look. He wasn't touching it unless it exploded. So I changed tactics. I stopped defending myself, stopped reacting. I let her log my mistakes, correct my spreadsheets, watch me like a hawk. I made it easy for her. I let her believe she was getting somewhere. She wanted a story that made her the hero. I gave her enough rope to write it, and I waited. She thought I was cornered. I made sure she kept thinking that. While she logged Greg opened wrong spreadsheet September 14th, I was writing something different. I kept a leather notebook on my desk, not hidden in a drawer, not locked up. Just there, plain, brown, a little worn at the edges. Started using it about 1.5 years ago when things got rough at home. Nothing dramatic, just life piling up. The notebook helped me sort my head out. But it turned into something else. Every day, end of shift, I wrote down 1 or 2 good things. That was it. Client thanked me for staying late on her portfolio. Jimmy from IT fixed my monitor setup. Finally have both screens working. Michelle left Oreos in the break room. Little stuff, honest stuff, not exaggerated, not polished. Just what I saw and felt. I didn't write about Jenna, not once. Not out of spite, just because she never gave me a reason to. She never helped, never shared credit, never did a damn thing that wasn't for her own ladder climb. She was invisible in that notebook because she made herself irrelevant to anything good. But the others? Their names came up over and over. Alicia from admin, always backing me up when I needed documents printed last minute. Devin from marketing, jumping in when I needed help rewriting a client proposal. Even Wilkins once for catching a detail I'd missed in a client's trust paperwork. I didn't realize it at first, but page by page, I was building something she couldn't touch. Not stats, not metrics, people, character. Who stepped up? Who reached out? Who gave a damn when they didn't have to? And the best part? It was all real. No angle, no manipulation, just truth. I didn't keep it for HR or for some big showdown. It wasn't meant to defend me. Hell, I didn't even think anyone would ever read it. But day by day, it became something Jenna couldn't fake. A record of what actually mattered in that office. She had a spreadsheet full of gotchas. I had 17 months of proof that I wasn't the problem. She never once asked about the notebook. Never even looked at it sideways. I think she figured it was just a planner, but it sat there the whole time, in plain sight. And every day I wrote a line or two that made her smaller without even mentioning her name. Because the truth is, people notice what you focus on. She spent months tracking my missteps. I spent months tracking everyone's best moments. That notebook became my quiet rebellion. And I didn't even know it until the day they opened it. They didn't ask me to leave. They didn't even tell me to sit down. They just kept flipping pages like they'd found a damn diary in a crime scene. I stayed by the break room, sipping that burnt coffee, watching Jenna float past my desk for the 3rd time. She was trying not to look, but her eyes kept darting toward the notebook, like she wanted to rip it out of their hands. She'd set the whole thing up. Scheduled the compliance sweep with HR and timed it during my lunch. That much was obvious. She wanted them to catch something dirty before I could clean it up. That was the phrase she used, too. I found out later from someone in HR who owed me a favor. Jenna came in hot with a folder stuffed with printouts, screenshots, and typed up notes. She claimed I was a risk to client relationships, said I had a pattern of sloppy behavior, that I was a threat to the firm's reputation. She sounded real professional, apparently. Real concerned. But while she spun her story in a conference room, the two compliance officers were out at my desk reading a journal that made her entire narrative fall apart in slow motion. The taller one flipped another page. The woman next to him was scanning entries like she was trying to catch a lie and not finding any. And slowly, something shifted. People started noticing. Michelle paused by the copier, eyes flicking toward my desk. Devin slowed his walk across the hall. Everyone could feel something was going down, but nobody knew what yet. Then Jenna came back. She hovered behind the compliance pair, pretending to be busy, filing papers that didn't need filing. Her smile was tight, forced, her eyes hunting for clues, for control. "Is this yours?" the woman finally asked, holding up the notebook. The guy didn't speak. He just turned another page, then another. His brow furrowed, not in confusion, in concentration. Jenna stepped closer. "If it's not work-related, it should be considered outside documentation," she said lightly, like she was trying to plant the idea in their heads. The guy looked up at her, then back at me. "How long have you kept this?" 17 months, I said. "You document this every day?" "Pretty much. Sometimes I miss a Friday, but yeah." They looked at each other. Jenna opened her mouth, then closed it. The guy leaned forward. "Did you fabricate any of this?" "No," I said. "All real." Every word he kept reading. Jenna stayed frozen, lips twitching like she wanted to jump in, but couldn't figure out how without blowing her own cover. After a couple minutes, the woman flipped back to the beginning. "You mentioned Michelle from reception 3 times last month," she said. "She brought snacks, picked up lunch for someone who was sick, helped a new hire find their way to the client conference room. Why? No reason," she said. "We're just reading." Jenna's face tightened again. "This doesn't change the documentation I submitted." The guy turned. "We've seen your file. And we're still reading." He said it without looking at her. I could feel the oxygen shift. Jenna did too. I stood up, walked back toward my desk, real slow. I didn't ask them to stop. I didn't demand anything. I just stood there while they read through 17 months of me paying attention to everyone but her. She shifted her weight like she wanted to walk away. But she didn't. Not yet. They hit the last page. The guy tapped it lightly with his finger, then looked at me again. "You didn't once mention Jenna Carlisle," he said. "Nope." "Why not?" I shrugged. She never gave me a reason. He closed the notebook. Didn't say another word. That silence said everything. The guy didn't speak right away. He just held the notebook in one hand like it weighed more than it looked. Then he stood, turned to Jenna, and said, calm as a light switch, "Miss Carlisle, could you join us in the conference room?" Her face shifted like someone pulled the rug out from under her smile. She blinked, nodded, and followed them without saying a word. I sat down at my desk, didn't touch anything, just waited, watched the hallway. People were pretending to work, but nobody was really focused. Everyone knew something had flipped. Jenna walked past Alicia without even making eye contact. Devin stood up, sat back down, then stood again, pretending he needed the printer. The glass wall of the conference room gave me just enough of a view to watch the show. No audio, just body language. The guy set the notebook on the table, opened it slowly. Jenna leaned in like she still had a chance to steer this. But her face changed fast. I watched her nod, then shake her head, then talk fast. Her hands moved a little, like she was explaining something away, but the officers didn't look convinced. The woman sat back with her arms crossed. The guy never even blinked. Jenna's posture started to slump. The confidence drained out of her like someone popped the balloon. She rubbed one eye, rubbed the other, blinked hard. When they stood up, she was dabbing under her eyes with the sleeve of her blazer. She came out first, walked straight past me like I didn't exist, face red, jaw tight. She didn't say a word. The two officers followed a few steps behind. They came back to my desk. The woman handed me the notebook. "Thank you for your time," she said. "The investigation is closed." I looked up. "That's it?" "No wrongdoing found," the guy added. "Everything in order." Then came the pause, and the real blow. "We noticed your journal names, 58 co-workers over 17 months, he said. Miss Carlisle wasn't one of them. He let that hang there. That told us more than any report ever could. I didn't say anything, just nodded once. He handed me a thin manila envelope. I didn't open it, didn't need to. Procedure stuff. Then they turned and walked out like they'd just clocked out of a regular shift. No drama, no fireworks, just silence. And that silence was loud. Michelle passed by 10 minutes later and slid a Reese's onto my desk without a word. Devin sent a Slack that just said, "Damn." I slid the notebook back into its spot by my monitor, leaned back in my chair, and let out the slowest breath of my life. Jenna was still in the building, but her story. That had just died in that conference room. I thought it might be over. But people like Jenna don't quit. They just switch tactics. By the next morning, Jenna was nowhere to be seen. Her desk sat untouched, no coffee mug, no blazer slung over the back of her chair. For a day or two, it was like she'd vanished. I wasn't stupid enough to think it was over. People noticed but didn't speak. Daniel from accounting stopped me by the elevator that Thursday. "Hey, just so you know," he said, lowering his voice, "Jenna's been asking around." "Said you've been keeping files on people?" I raised an eyebrow. "Files?" He nodded. "Yeah. Said something about you documenting coworkers without telling them, making lists, tracking behavior." And there it was, the second wave, quiet, underhanded, right out of her playbook. She couldn't hit me through compliance anymore, so she went for what was left, reputation. I kept calm on the outside, but inside, I was boiling. 2 days later, Alicia and admin barely looked at me when I said good morning. Mr. Wilkins walked past without the usual joke about my caffeine addiction. Small shifts, but sharp ones. Jenna was doing damage. Not all at once, but slow and steady, like acid on steel. She was planting seeds of suspicion. I could see how she framed it, too. All I'm saying is, it's kind of weird, right? Writing names down, every day, without permission. If she couldn't get me fired, she wanted me isolated, questioned, out of sync with the people I actually respected. I thought about going to her desk, calling her out, cornering her in front of everyone. That would have felt good for 5 minutes. But that's what she wanted, a blow-up, a scene, something she could twist. So I went the other way. That afternoon, I sat down and wrote a department-wide email. Straightforward, honest, no sugarcoating. Subject line, quick note about the notebook. I kept it simple. Some of you have heard about the notebook I keep. I started it over a year ago, during a rough patch, to stay grounded. Every day I try to write down something positive, something someone did that made work better. I've never shared the contents publicly, and I never will unless someone personally asks. That said, if you're uncomfortable being included in it, I'll respect that completely going forward. No hard feelings. Just say the word, no spin, no apology, just facts. I hit send, leaned back, and waited. 15 minutes later, Alicia walked by my desk with a smile and dropped off mail like nothing had happened. An hour after that, Daniel forwarded the email to another department, added a line, "More of us should do this." Then came the replies, first 1, then 3, then 10. Every name in my inbox told me she'd miscalculated, again. But I didn't smile. Not yet. Because I knew Jenna wasn't done, not even close. By the next morning, my inbox looked like a group hug. Not one complaint. Not a single, take me off your list. Just gratitude. Straight up. Alicia was first. "Greg, I had no idea I'd been in your journal. That honestly made my whole week. Thank you then, Daniel. You noticed the report I stayed late to finish? That means more than you know." It kept coming. Michelle from reception. Devin. Even Tina from legal, who barely spoke to anyone, sent a short one-liner. "Wish more people paid attention the way you do." And then Wilkins. He called it remarkable. Said he'd seen a shift in the team's energy since the journal came to light. Told me he'd never expected something so small to have that kind of ripple effect. 35 replies in total, all positive, all real. One person didn't reply. Jenna. She read it. I know she did. She always read everything. But she kept quiet, probably hoping it would die out. Instead, it did the opposite. People started leaving handwritten thank you notes on desks. Someone made a whiteboard in the break room labeled shoutouts, and folks started scribbling messages in dry erase like it was second nature. Props to Alicia for saving my butt on Tuesday. Big win for Daniel, crushed the numbers last week. None of it came from me. That's the part she didn't see coming. I didn't lead some campaign. I didn't stand up and give a speech. I just told the truth and let people do what they wanted with it. Turns out, people were hungry for it, hungry to be seen. Jenna tried to pivot. Of course she did. One morning, she brought in donuts, claimed it was just because. A week later, she stood up during a meeting and tried to give a shout out to the marketing team for being so on top of deadlines lately. It was painful, forced, stiff, like she was reading from a script written by someone who never actually meant a single word. And the room felt it. Nobody clapped. Nobody responded. Just polite nods and the sound of laptop keys clicking. Because by then, the difference was obvious. Everyone else was lifting each other up. And Jenna still needed someone to stand on. Her playbook didn't work in a place where people finally started looking out for each other. And no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't fake that. 3 weeks later, Wilkins called me into his office. "Close the door," he said. He was holding a manila folder and a red pen, which usually meant someone was in trouble. For once, I knew it wasn't me. I sat down across from him. He leaned back in his chair, cracked his neck, and gave this tired half smile. "You know that journal of yours kicked off something I didn't expect," he said. I didn't answer, just waited. He tapped the folder. The shift in this team, whatever you want to call it, gratitude culture, morale boost, kumbaya crap. It's been the best thing to hit this department in years. I raised an eyebrow. "Kumbaya crap?" he chuckled. "You know what I mean?" Then he flipped the folder open and slid it across the desk. Inside was a list, not long, but sharp. 7 bullet points, each one tied to Jenna Carlisle. Micromanaging employees she didn't supervise. Undermining team leads in meetings. Requesting unauthorized access to internal reports. Creating tension between departments. Logging non-performance-related behavior about coworkers. Attempting to influence compliance protocols. Filing a formal complaint based on personal opinion. And at the bottom, underlined in red, compliance audit triggered with no valid basis. I looked up at him. That from HR? Partly. Some came straight from the team. People finally started speaking up. He pulled the folder back, closed it. She's being moved to another team. No direct reports, no client-facing work. I didn't say anything. She'll be focused on internal audits. Quiet stuff. No collaboration, just her and a spreadsheet. I nodded once. "It's not a demotion," he added, "but it's definitely a message." We sat in silence for a few beats. "She know yet?" "She found out this morning." "How'd she take it?" He gave a slow exhale. Didn't say much, just nodded and walked out. That sounded about right. I stood up to leave. He didn't stop me, just said, "Greg?" I turned back. I don't think she ever saw it coming. "She never saw anything but herself," I said. He nodded once. Nothing else needed to be said. I walked out of that office and back to my desk. Jenna's space was still there, but her nameplate was gone. People noticed. Nobody said a word. I didn't feel proud or smug. I didn't feel much of anything, honestly. Just done. She wanted to win. She wanted to take something from me. All I'd ever wanted was to do the job, go home, and not have to watch my back. Now I could. That was enough. A couple months later, word floated through the office. Jenna had transferred. Different branch, different state, Minnesota, maybe. I didn't ask. Didn't care. New team, clean slate. Maybe that's what she needed. I didn't hate her. I didn't wish her the worst. I just finally saw her for what she was. Insecure, bitter, and too wrapped up in her own climb to realize she'd stepped on everyone along the way. She couldn't celebrate anyone else without seeing it as a loss for herself. That's the part that killed her. Not my notebook, not the compliance team. Me existing and not shrinking was the threat. She wanted me to fail so she could stand taller, but she tripped herself. Loudly. She gave me every chance to fight back, every opening to strike, and I didn't swing. I just kept my pen moving, one line at a time, until the picture painted itself. Just that slow rhythm at the end of each day. Who showed up? Who gave a damn? Who mattered? I don't write in it for proof. Not anymore. Not even for peace of mind. I write in it to remember. Because it's easy to forget in offices like ours. With the pressure, the pace, the meetings that never end. Easy to overlook the people who hold it all together while someone else takes the credit. That little book keeps me from losing track. It was never meant to be a weapon, but somehow it ended up being the clearest mirror in the whole damn building. You want to know who someone really is? Watch how they treat people when they think no one's watching, not during a performance review, not when the VP walks in, just a regular Tuesday afternoon when no one owes them anything. Jenna showed us that, loud and clear, and I just happened to be the one writing it down. The best revenge wasn't getting her in trouble. That part handled itself. The real win? It's sitting in this department now. It's Alicia printing little thank you cards on her lunch break. Daniel posting team shoutouts in Slack every Friday. Michelle decorating her desk with Post-its people left for her. Wilkins backing it all, calling it our new normal. She tried to bury me in reports and lies. I handed her a page from my notebook instead.